Hello everyone, welcome to Monday's edition of the Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show. What a week. What a week we've had here in Yorkshire, and what a weekend. We've had it all. We didn't, however, get the Yorkshire fairy tale that I was hoping for in any of the races, really. Tom Pidcock got the closest in third position. Right, before we get into the men's road race and the women's road race, let's just recap everything that happened on Friday, because we put the video out very late on Friday evening. It was only a couple of hours after the under-23 race had happened. Stories were still coming out as to why Niels Eekhoff had been disqualified. And to be honest, I think my assessment of the whole situation was pretty fair. To say we were limited in what information we actually had, more information came out over the weekend. And what we saw was Niels Eekhoff following his car for a good 2.5 minutes. Just not even in the convoy. I mean, look at this. So do you know what? Yeah, we all slagged the UCI off for making a stupid decision. But one, they followed the rules and made the right decision according to the rules. Two, they could have done it at a better point in time. Like, if they'd seen that happen, they should have disqualified him there and then. There should have been no qualms, no questions. It should have been, oi, idiot, out. And that would have been it. That would have been it. We'd have nothing to talk about other than the fact that the Italian won fair and square. But they didn't, and I presume it's down to the fact that they couldn't get the footage until after the race and show the jury exactly what had gone off. Or nobody actually knew about the footage that the camera bike had. The camera bike came into the finish and went, you might want to see this, guys. Boosh. Oh yeah, that's a bit bad. You're out, sunshine. So yeah, I think it was fair, and I think I said on Friday, would they have disqualified him if he'd finished in fourth position? Yeah, I think they would have. I think that they would have disqualified him regardless of what position he finished, but we'd have just never heard about it if he'd finished 51st. It would have probably come up in the communique from the UCI, but everyone would have looked at it and gone, so what? But the fact that he won meant all hell broke loose. Ultimately, fair decision made from the UCI. The timing could have been better, but if they weren't privy to that information until afterwards, then again, absolutely fine decision made by the UCI. They did what they had to do. And I think it would have been worse if they'd have presented that jersey and then gone, hey, wait a second. He shouldn't be in that. Because he should never have been there in the first place. Or again, like I said before, if he would have been there, he should have been there with a lot less energy than he was able to have thanks to that toe. But I guess it opens the debate as to what do we all think to this? Do we think that if you crash or you have a mechanical that's no fault of your own, that you shouldn't be punished by having to use that extra energy to get back there, and your team car should be entitled to pull you? I know it doesn't say it in the rules, but do you think there should be a rule change that says, but then again, yeah, you're just going to, I know what you're going to say, you're going to get these people who go, oh, I've got a mechanical, or just crash into someone and say it was their fault. That means I can get back to the front now if there's a mistake, or they just lose the toe of the peloton. So it's a difficult one. It's really difficult to know exactly what's right and what's wrong, because you had a lot of professional riders coming out saying, this happens all the time. This happens in every single race. But does it? Do riders really sit behind a car like that getting towed past the convoy for 2 minutes or not? Anyway, let's get on to this weekend's racing, and first up, the women's race. Now, when I switched this on, I didn't get to watch the whole race because weekends, family and all that jazz. But when I did turn it on, I just happened to catch a glimpse of Lizzie Diamond on her own, and I was like, oh my God, she's up the road on her own. She wasn't, she was going out the back. But incredible performance by her. I'm biased. I think she did an amazing job, and she had a lot to do on her own, because once they got to that climb, it was just a handful of really solid riders who were capable of winning that, who were there, and then obviously ANNEMIEK van Vleuten, she was just up the road. And when they interviewed her after the race, she said the plan wasn't to go then. It was well, listen to what she said.
ANNEMIEK van Vleuten, world champion in the time trial last year, road world champion this year, but this was a bit of a time trial, no?
Yeah, 100 kilometer time trial. It was a crazy plan. It was actually not planned. I wanted to go hard on the climb. I think that was good for our team. And then I started I had a gap. And then maybe when you started, my coach said, yeah, just continue now. So it was a crazy plan. It was something like,
And coming into the finish of the women's road race, you'd be forgiven for thinking it was just an individual time trial. ANNEMIEK van Vleuten took the victory, 2 minutes and 15 seconds ahead of Anna van der Breggen, her teammate. And in third position was Amanda Spratt from Australia, and she was 2 minutes and 28 seconds behind. Further back, you had Chloe Dygert, who had a push, she had a go, ultimately just blew her load emphatically. She struggled. It looked like she was going to get on the podium, but then obviously that time trial she just had too much fatigue in her legs and probably pushed too hard in this race. She finished 3 minutes 24 behind. Then you had Elisa Longo Borghini, 4 minutes 45 seconds behind. Marianne Vos then brought the rest of the peloton, or what was left of the peloton, and she sprinted for 6th position. And then just like Dygert, Lizzie Dinan suffered on those closing laps. She just couldn't stay with the little group that she was in, and then she just kept going backwards, which is such a shame. But like she said in her interview, she tried and she was going for the rainbow jersey, but then at one point she realised the group she was with, they were all riding for silver and they would have been happy with silver, and then she should have adjusted her tactics then and gone, actually, right, rainbow's gone, we need to let that go, let's see if we can get on this podium. But she wasn't. She was just so focused on that rainbow that ultimately, well, she paid the ultimate price and failed to finish on the podium, but she'll be back. She'll be back. Now, as exciting as the women's race was, I think you'll agree that the men's race was just drama from the start. In fact, it was drama before the race had even began. So the original route of the men's UCI Road Race Championship should have been a 285 kilometre race, 295 with neutral, and they were going to take in 3 main climbs, those being the Cray, Buttertubs and Grinton Moor. But because of adverse weather conditions, we'd seen it all week, it just got worse and worse. Sunday, like Saturday night into Sunday, was just ridiculous, the amount of rainfall that we saw in Yorkshire. And because of those biblical weather conditions, we saw landslides up at the main climbs, we saw roads just unpassable, similar to what we saw at the Tour de France. So that meant the UCI had to change the course, so they reduced it down to 261 kilometres. They took out the 2 major climbs. So because of the shortened distance out on the roads around Yorkshire, what the UCI did was increase the laps around the Harrogate course by 2. So instead of doing 7 laps around there, we were going to see 9 laps around there. And this race, oh man, so right. Let's take it back to the start. As you would imagine from a World Championship race, breaks were trying to go left, right and centre from kilometre 0. Eventually, a break got established at 234 kilometres to go. That was when 2 groups managed to merge at the front, and in there were some big names, some big hitters: Quintana, Roglic, Carapaz and Howes. And they established about a 1 minute and 3 lead on the peloton. And then back in the peloton, well, there was one man shepherding it for the majority of the day. He must have spent a good 50, 60 kilometres on the front. Every time it went back to the peloton, Rowan Dennis was on the front, rubbing Bahrain Merida's nose in it, because he was riding the BMC. So with Rowan Dennis on the front, the gap stayed pretty consistent between 2 and 3 minutes. It just yo-yoed here and there. And when they got to the first climb, or the only climb really, of the day at Cray Hill, both the break and the peloton, well, didn't really do much. They just kind of got up it and got down it. That was it. The most entertaining part was the flood right at the top. First time they went up Parliament Street, it was game over for Phil Gilles, one of the favourites going into this race, and post-race he said he had great legs and he felt strong. So shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's such a shame for him. He went down pretty heavy, and bless him, Remco Evenepoel, you know, Gilbert is obviously a rider that has taken Evenepoel under his wing and tried to show him the way of a professional rider. And it clearly works, because Evenepoel waited for Gilbert. Even when Gilbert kind of pushed him away and said, no, crack on, he still waited and he was like, no, dude, I'm here for you. You the man. Let's get going. I'm strong as an ox. So then Remco went to work on the front of that second group, trying to close that peloton down. But it was clear that Philippe Gilbert was in no fit state to be carrying on. If it wasn't Worlds, I dare say he would have just put his hand up and gone, I'm done, mate, I'm done. Now, one thing everybody did probably expect was another attack to go. That break had been caught up within Harrogate, and it was only a matter of time before another little break went on one of those little kickers. Lawson Craddock had to go first, and then at 47 kilometres to go, Pedersen and Kung both went off on the attack and managed to get a decent sized gap on the rest of the peloton. And then at the 33 kilometres to go mark is when our favourite, everybody's favourite, everyone thought this guy was going to take the championship, Mathieu van der Poel put his attack in. And when I watched it, I thought that was it. I thought it was game over, because not only did Van der Poel go, Alaphilippe tried to go with him, and Matteo Trentin counter-attacked Alaphilippe, managed to bridge up to Mathieu van der Poel, and then that was it. It looked like, for me, two very strong riders, both capable of going solo on this course. Both of them had a great preparation to this World Championship, and when you saw them two together, and you saw Gianni Moscon up in the lead with Matteo Trentin, you thought it was game over for everybody else. Now this is another moment in time where you think, right, if Phil Gilles had not have crashed, what would be happening now? The chances are the Belgians will be on the front, just giving it full gas, making sure Van Avermaet and Philippe Gilbert were pulled back to that group. But ultimately, no one really committed within the peloton to try and close that down. I don't know if they thought it's only a small group, chances are it's going to come back, or they thought Mathieu van der Poel's up the road, we ain't got a prayer now, so sorry lads, that's it. I don't know what it was, but there was no real concerted effort in that peloton to really try and drive it on and just commit riders to bring that break back. I don't know, it's a bit of a strange one, especially when you see the names that were still in that peloton. Yes, reduced peloton, but still, you had the likes of Alaphilippe, you had Sagan in there, you had Swifty in there, you had Van Avermaet in there. So it was weird that no one actually committed to the front of that and just went, let's go. I think Matthews was in there as well. So now, as the riders came in to take the bell, there was around a 48-second gap between that front group and what was left of that peloton. There's around 23 riders, and at that point, Ben Swift of Great Britain, well, he cracked. As much as he wanted a horrendous day in the Yorkshire Dales, well, he got one by the looks of it. And unfortunately for Swifty, unfortunately for me and the British fans, we weren't going to see a Yorkshireman take the Road World Championships. But he gave it a massive go, and hey, listen, the guy was in intensive care at the start of the year, so the fact that he even got to the start line, I'm proud of him. Anyway, let's get back to the front of the race. And it looked like Mathieu van der Poel was still going to take this. Matteo Trentin might give him a run for his money, but the way Mathieu van der Poel's been going, it looked like it was his for the taking. And one thing I said back in the preview was, right, it's all good and well Mathieu van der Poel being this amazing rider that everyone thinks can do no wrong. But can he survive, one, the weather, and two, the distance? Because that's the one thing that he's not... Yes, he's done Amstel Gold, but he's only done it once. And in between Amstel Gold and now, he's doing a lot of mountain bike races, and a lot of the races haven't been of this magnitude and of this distance. Now, I'm not saying I was right, but he exploded in tremendous style. When the TV cameras cut to him, he left a gap of like 5 or 6 bikes, and you kind of went, what the? Oh, he's got a mechanical. Oh no, he's blown up. Oh my God. And he just went backwards, and I kind of felt sorry for him, because there must have been so much pressure on him to take this world title. Listen, he's going to get loads more chances. He is going to be a road world champion, mark my words. But there was so much pressure on him after the season he had to come here and just demolish the field. And obviously the weather played a part in it, the pressure played a part in it, and ultimately, potentially, fueling might have played a part in it, the way he just went out the back. Because, yeah, it wasn't a gradual thing, it It was, unless he was hiding it and playing it really close to his chest. But yeah, ultimately, Mathieu van der Poel went out the back, and I think a lot of people were disappointed because they really wanted to see that finish between Trentin and van der Poel. So the group was down to 4 riders now. Moscon eventually got dropped, and then it came to 3 riders all sprinting out in the final kilometre to take the victory. Everyone's money went from van der Poel straight on to Trentin. Trentin's got this. I don't even know why the other 2 are riding. The only way they can win this is if they try and get the jump on him. If they try and go with a K to go. Because Trentin has got a great sprint, especially after this long distance. It's Trentin's in the bag. Well, it wasn't. Mads Pedersen is your new UCI Men's Road Race World Champion. And oh my God, it was amazing. I feel sorry for Trentin because he's been the nearly man for so long now. And he definitely, especially the season he's had, he deserves it. But Mads Pedersen just out-sprinted him, made him look very, very average indeed. And what a crazy race. It had absolutely everything. Leave your comments down below as to your best highlight of this year's UCI Road World Championships. Yes, the rain spoiled it, but it kind of also made it. Leave your comments down below. Thanks for watching, everybody. Sorry it was very Worlds heavy, but hey, Worlds only happen once a year, and they're never going to happen again in my lifetime in Yorkshire. So it's all out of my system now. Please leave your comments down below. Let me know what your favourite moment of these UCI World Championships was. And don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you've not done already. Helps out the channel immensely, especially when you hit that notification bell. We'll be back tomorrow with another show. Hish.